everybody. Oh, I think I'm decentralized right now. Am I decentralized? Did it look decentralized to you? Yeah. Let's. I'm going to centralize myself a little bit. There we go. Got the Ergo symbol, on top of me right here. Right there. There it is. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another exciting edition of the weekly AMA. And actually, it's just me today. The other two are actually AI generated images of Kushti and Armeanio. No, I'm just kidding. They're the real deal. Say hi to everybody, Alex.
Hey guys.
And what about you, Joe?
Good morning. Morning.
Okay,
everybody.
now let me see your hands. Can you do hands in the same shot as your face? Fake. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, I gotta have to do better than that. Anyway, we're just in the beginning of the AI revolution. We're gonna get it right one of these days. Anyway, got another exciting week in the world of Ergo. So from my end, it's actually been getting a little bit more active than before. Aside from, of course, dealing with the funding situation and dealing with the coursework that basically is continuing to be kind of progressed. And also, I'm going to be approaching another university, an accredited university in Europe, to potentially collaborate with us as well. Maybe on a bit more of a technical course. So that's also in the pipeline. The really kind of cool stuff that we've kind of finally got the chance to really engage in has been catalyst proposals for Rosen. So we're going to be submitting a catalyst proposal for Rosen. This was written by, in the cooperation with the Ergo fam and the Zengate fam. And so there is, it's a pretty robust proposal. It's basically an incentive structure for node operators to create extra income, which would essentially be a kind of a cross-chain initiative to incentivize Cardano node operators to act as participants in the Rosen network. So that's going to go out into Fund 10. We're going to have more details on this as we progress. We're going to have the proposal made public in just a little bit of time. Must give Sam pretty much all the credit here. He's the one that was, that put the thing together, and it's been on our shelf for about 6 months now, waiting for Fund 10 to start up. But this is really exciting. Hoping to get Rosen kind of turbocharged, not like Daedalus Turbo. We're going to get Rosen Turbo. That's really turbo, meaning that it'll go live, like really, really live. So that is really exciting. So another kind of exciting Fund 10 initiative that we're going to be doing is we're going to be kind of doing a cross-chain governance framework for traceability and sovereign identity with some people from the Atala crew, as well as other players in the Cardano ecosystem. And so this will actually be also really exciting because, again, it's another cross-chain initiative, and this will be a something that is going to be, we're looking to make this kind of open source information so that others who are designing these types of networks, these types of systems, can utilize this governance framework. So this is just really kind of two really cool things that I'm really excited about that are going to be kind of materializing more and more in the next couple of months. So stay tuned for more updates. Okay, well, how about we go to Joe? What have you been up to, Joe?
Sure. I'm coming back online. I've been quite busy for like the last few weeks. I know we had a developer update yesterday. Good stuff. CW and I will put together a video that'll come out on Sunday to kind of update the community as to what's new. Yeah, a lot of noise in the space this week. A lot of heads on fire. Fun. But regardless, continue to build. It's good stuff. We do have the Ergo bursary coming up. Kind of celebrating the launch of mainnet and putting together an event with a lot of good videos, content, potential partners, projects. So I'm really looking forward to that as well. Let's kind of in the background moving towards let's have a good little party.
Good stuff. Good stuff. All right, Alex, what about yourself?
So busy as usually. There was 5.11 release, which is mostly about small features and fixes. And there is 5 or 12 release coming, which is actually big, so it will contain support for bootstrapping with utexos and snapshots, or what's called snap sync in Ethereum. Also checked some recent paper. I actually already mentioned it. So there is a paper about some attacks on Ethereum clients. Ethereum before merge was affected, as well as ETC before some fix, and even after the paper release, Ethereum POW was affected. Maybe even now it is. This paper is about how to feed a peer with in one case chain generated with just minority of hash rate, in another case just invalid chain, and how to combine both attacks and how to profit from it. So I will do a forum post probably, Ergo is not affected, including the snap sync which is coming. It seems very different design choice after all. There is no snap possibility in bootstrapping, and there is no even master peer during bootstrapping being chosen, unlike Ethereum. Right, and snap means security is not a priority. So, I was quite shocked, but it seems Ethereum's Go clients did not check for Ethereum, and for other proof of work Ethereum chain still not checking proof of work for every block during initial sync because of too heavy ETH hash algorithm. Right, so the things are very different, but in short, so Ergo is not affected. All right, also some work on Bitcoin BIP 119, the TV BIP, and some constructions based on that. So in order to understand what could be good for soft fork updates of the protocol, and supporting different novel layer 2 solutions known for Bitcoin, right? So we are talking about some established solutions, so there is support already for all of the known constructions from Lightning Network to Hydra. So currently checking things, Enigma, Network, Arc, and so on. Yeah, so there are also updates for the DEXI stablecoin. Also was in talks with developers, helped them in regards with some new protocols which will be covered during the Ergo Summit. So yeah, had some talks about the upcoming Ergo Summit, and yeah, it's going to be huge in regards with what will be uncovered during the summit, and yeah, what will be presented and covered in details. So yeah, that's how my days are going recently.
So you've been doing things, Alex? You haven't been like on vacation or anything? No.
Not quite.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like it. Doesn't sound like it.
So yeah, not sure about vacation. Let's see.
Yeah. Well, all right. Let's get us to some questions. I know there's a lot of people. Well, not a lot of people, but there are going to be some questions about this SEC witch hunt, and we are going to answer some. So let's just get to them. All right. Okay. Here's kind of a good neutral question, I guess. So I think government support is important. Yes, there is good and bad governments. How is Ergo approaching government partnerships, or are governments and nation states not important? Okay, so there are certain things that, if you're talking about Ergo as in the Ergo Foundation, that the Ergo Foundation can do, that is, I guess, government specific. And there's some things that the Ergo Foundation is just not really involved in because of the nature of decentralization. So what can the Ergo Foundation do? Well, the Ergo Foundation can get a legal opinion, for example, on in say the U.S., right? On if Ergo is considered a security or a currency, right? This is not particularly for regulatory, specifically for working with regulators, but rather for working with regulations that are that are relevant to say getting listed on a U.S. exchange, right? So you get a legal opinion to show that no, this is you are not considered a security, you're considered a currency, and so therefore they're they can de-risk. So that's okay. That is something that is, I guess, government regulation related that the Ergo Foundation would get involved in. I don't think that the Ergo Foundation should be involved in, and we'll get your take on this, Alex and Joe, is actually basically trying to kind of involve ourselves too much in the actual regulation. Now, I don't say that because I don't think that Ergo shouldn't be involved. I think that the Ergo Foundation should not be involved in any kind of regulatory mumbo jumbo. And again, I'll tell you why. It's because of the nature of Ergo and the nature of our network and the decentralization aspect of our network. So should the Ergo Foundation be involved in this? No, I don't think so. Should the Ergo community and projects in the Ergo community be involved in this? Yes. And so this is actually one of the reasons why with Zengate, we are involved with regulators in the jurisdictions that we work in to make sure that we're compliant with local laws and to make sure that we can do business in those jurisdictions, within the confines of the law, and not have any, surprises when we're actually doing business in the jurisdiction. We have a lawyer in Sri Lanka and Zengate SL that is talking with regulators. We have talked to regulators, to governing bodies like the Sri Lankan Tea Board, to various ministers. And so, yeah, we are working with them. But should the Ergo Foundation be working in Sri Lanka for us? I just don't think so. I think that it should be up to the individual businesses that are building an ecosystem to do that. I think that the Ergo Foundation and the Ergo core team should be concentrated solely on actually developing the protocol. At least that's my take. What do you think, Joe?
Yeah, I would agree. I think that the Ergo Foundation is kind of suited around research and development, right? When you get into politics, it's messy. I can say, okay, in the U.S., probably one of the more powerful lobbying, groups is like the Blockchain Association. Have I met with them? Yeah, but as usual, they want membership fees, and it's actually quite expensive to participate, and who knows what the actual value there is. But at the end of the day, crypto's anti-establishment. We need to accept that. We need to look at the first principle of that, where it's the idea of kind of people on a peer-to-peer level having some joint agreement in terms of the creation and the emission of money, which directly challenges the government monopoly over money creation and money emission, right? And so in that sense, I think that saying, hey, we should go ask for permission is stupid, right? I know that there's a lot of probably primarily driven from this idea in the Bitcoin community, like, oh, we're going to, be accepted in financial markets. And, I think that's the wrong approach. I think that we should build it out as a peer-to-peer network, have it be transparent, have the assumptions be known. And in that sense, if the government or any party really wants to learn about it or, let's say, understand it, research it, guess what? The code's open. There you go.
Yeah, I mean, that's really is the nature of open source, isn't it? If you open source, you essentially also kind of give up certain level of custody of the network to the community. And so what are some of the aspects of, and this is, we have a couple of questions about this, but what are some of the aspects of a security? Well, a security would represent a bond. It would represent maybe part of company equity, right? So an equity in a centralized organization. The more you decentralize, the more you basically push the whole security narrative further and further, because the code is just there, right? So the profit that comes from utilizing the code is not specific to one entity, right? So for example, I can use the code. I can use, say, the Nautilus code, and I can create myself a custom implementation of the Nautilus wallet to custody NFTs on the Palmyra platform, and I will actually be able to create value for myself. That doesn't mean that the creators of Nautilus are going to make the same type of value for themselves, and that is one of the key differentiating points that basically shows that this is not a representation of a centralized entity. So Ergo is not a representation of a centralized entity, but rather a representation of an ecosystem.
I think it's the best thing we can do is build these out as public goods, to where they're open, they're accessible to everybody. If a government wants to participate, great. If they want to complain about it or attack it, great. It's their option. But I think that the public good approach is wise, and that is neutral because it's not specifically tailored to any particular jurisdiction. It's rather made to be a public good for citizens of the internet.
What do you think, Alex?
So I think, from both sides, cryptocurrency movements and also government It's hard to find beneficial cooperation, right? So, yeah. For me, it's much productive to work with some cooperative in Kenya, for example, right? Because you have immediate feedback, right? So you can propose some experiments in lending, maybe then some monetary experiments and so on. You can collect data, see how it's going, maybe correct, right? And it's small scale, so flexible. Nation states governments are behemoths, so you will spend probably years, right, getting through legal barriers, but then results are not clear. Still, in regards with understanding cryptocurrencies as monetary tools, I think the community is just at the beginning of understanding of enlightenment, maybe. Right. It's better to work with field whenever possible. About all this security, non-security. It's from recent discussions quite more productive to think about basic things if you are doing lending and other things on the chain, staking, for example, and so on. How risks and yields, for example, are balanced, and can you find explicit form, right, where risks are clearly seen because of the nature of the blockchain technology, and how to express agreements that you need in economic activities, and do you need for layer one or maybe in some cases layer two is north, and maybe combination of both. So I'm reading currently a lot on this stuff in regards with Bitcoin layer 2, for example, right? So, or roll-ups. So if you can get something on layer 2, but with additional security assumptions, then does it worth it? It's better to stay on ground, I think. Especially as it could be beneficial for traditional finance as well, right? So once you have a clearly understandable and explicit notion of risk and profit, it's maybe more productive talk than just talking about categorization of financial instruments in traditional finance and how to apply cryptocurrencies in regards with that.
Yeah, a lot of angles there. You know what? Let's maybe take another one of these questions. There are a lot of them, but let's just take one more regarding regulation, and then we'll move on to other ones. So, is SEC regulation of exchanges a bad thing in light of the recent examples of exchanges behaving very badly with users' funds? Will regulation provide extra protection for users? This kind of regulation, no, it won't. This is predatory regulation. This is basically, it's not even regulation. It's basically kind of as I said, legalize extortion, because they're not really regulating; they're just going after money, like they did with Bittrex, like they're going to do with Binance, like they're going to do with other exchanges. They're gonna go for money. They're going to take money from them, and then just move on to the next project that is going to, they're going to get money from. Can there be positive regulation and for consumer protection? Yes, there can. Should there have been regulation in place already, regulatory clarity, so that we wouldn't have to have these kind of discussions about this? Yes, there should have. We should have started on this back in 2015, 2016, maybe even before that. For various reasons, the U.S. decided, or the government decided, to kind of shift their interest in something else. And so, this whole regulatory kind of clarity and sensible regulation was not done because of the political environment in the U.S. And so now, 5 years later, 6 years later, they're coming at us and they're basically kind of trying to, just nuke everything. And basically, they got Gary, the pointer, pointing at different things and calling them securities, and it's just literally not, I mean, and then he's talking about, in a different video, he's talking about the Howey test, which most of the stuff that he's mentioning is just, it doesn't work, right? So, short answer, I don't think that what's happening right now is a positive thing. I don't think what's happening right now is going to be really protecting the customer, because, like I said, no regulatory clarity is being made. There's just extortion that's happening. So after this, what's going to happen is these exchanges, they're not going to, all of a sudden say, okay, well, so what do we do? How do we behave? Tell us what to do, government mommy. They're not going to say that. They're just going to close the shop, and they're not going to operate in the U.S. And this is actually a common theme right now in crypto and in investments as well. One of the things that you don't want to do if you want to get investment from any kind of fund is do token offerings in the U.S. That's like one of the first things they'll tell you. Unless you're working with accredited investors in the U.S., do not do token offerings in the U.S. because it's nobody wants to touch it now. And the same thing's going to happen with exchanges. They're going to, these exchanges, the centralized exchanges, they're going to leave. Whether that's a good thing, whether it's a bad thing or not, I don't know. I'm a big fan of decentralized exchanges. I'm a very big fan of decentralization in general. I'm not a big fan of centralized exchanges at all. With that said, what's being done to them right now is unfair. So hopefully, especially with a change of administration next year, we're going to get some new fresh faces on there. We're going to get some people in there that, well, this is my hope, that we'll get some people in there that actually understand crypto and understand blockchain, and don't just kind of, try to kind of ride the crypto as a scam train for votes, because that's what's happening with them right now. And maybe at that point, we will get some sensible regulation. We will get some regulatory clarity, which we don't have right now. What do you think about that, Alex?
Oh, so historically, I know just one example when regulation was useful. That is MTGOX, right? Where users finally got the money many years after, because money was insured by Japanese. Some Japanese body, right?
The JFSA.
Yeah, I don't know much about details. Yeah, for all other sexes which disappeared or were hacked or whatever. So yeah, many had licenses, right? Somewhere. Quadriga, for example, had Canadian license, but their users are really protected. Not really. And so on. So yeah, the only one example I know.
Yeah. Actually, Mt. Gox is about the time I came into crypto. So that's kind of, I came in as it exploded, as it erupted. And because it was in Japan, that was kind of like a local thing. It's like, oh, okay, Mt. Gox, nice.
Yeah, but did they lost users' money actually? So
they did. In fact, I mean, that was like the Wild West of crypto back then. I mean, we're still talking about millions and millions and potentially billions, and and then hacks, money
but
lost.
Then this GFIC bought bitcoins, right? To buy back users.
Yeah, something like that. So the JFSA stepped in, and then they custodied some Bitcoin or something, and then and then they reimbursed the users. But I think it's still happening actually. Like it's literally still going on, and this was what, like 2014 or something like that.
Yeah, early 14 probably. So yeah, like 10 years past.
Almost 10 years. Yeah. It's and that's not the only one. I mean, one of the biggest exchanges in Japan, CoinCheck, also got hacked, and they lost a lot of money. And I know because I was in CoinCheck when it happened, and my account got locked out, and they actually fixed it, relaunched, but I can't get back in. And I mean, they would pull stuff like just randomly, like, hold your funds indefinitely. I remember actually because I went to when the initial launch of ADA happened, right? So in 2017, I wanted to buy ADA, like literally on the same day, and so I went into CoinCheck and I wired money from my bank account to buy Bitcoins, and then I can buy ADA with Bitcoin from Bittrex. And I remember I wired the money, and I think ADA at that point was like at 1.5 cents, something like that, like a couple hundred Satoshis, I think like 150 Satoshis. And and I was just trying to get money through. And these guys, they locked my money up for 2 days. Nobody told me what's going on, like no customer support, right? I put through something like a $1,000 or $2,000. Nobody, like, no customer support, nobody to call. You email them, they respond to you in this like gibberish. And what it turned out was that they actually had a person sitting there and verifying the funds by hand. And so if it was something over $500, they would literally stop the funds for 24 hours at least until they decide that these funds are legit, and only then would they basically make the trade and give you Bitcoin. So these guys screwed me up a couple of times. They screwed me up back when when in early 2018 when Bitcoin kind of went up to 20,000, and so I was kind of trying to exchange some Bitcoin for other coins like Cardano. And again, they locked me up for like 2 days, and then and 2 days later, Bitcoin dumped like $3,000 or $4,000. So, that's Japanese centralized exchanges. So I mean, once in a while you do get regulatory clarity, and you do get customer protection. Most of the time, and you deal with these exchanges, right? That basically do this bullshit. Most of the time it's not good. I mean, the JFSA didn't really do much about these guys. They do the same shit. Like they literally pull the same crap right now, except for so they got automated exchanges now, but they charge these like obnoxious amounts of money for trades, and like nobody is trying to say anything about this. Anyway, Joe, what do you think?
Oh, I think both of them do a terrible job at transparency. The SEC's done, an absolute terrible job in terms of creating any type of forward guidance or processes where people have predictability, which then leads to kind of like investment security and risk analysis. And I think exchanges have done equally shitty in terms of their internal processes, the state of their financial situation. You could even look at, like, for a project, the path to listing. There's no transparency there. It's basically, all in the dark. So I think both parties really should get their shit together.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it's going to take a while, but that's really the ultimate kind of way to figure this stuff out. The SEC should stop ruling like the mafia, and then a lot of these centralized exchanges should stop acting like the mafia.
Yeah,
so, it's again, we'll get there, I think. All right. Let's see. Okay. So here's actually, hang on one second. We had a question for Alex here. Okay. So Mr. Glasgow is relaying a question for us. Question for Kushti. What's the history behind the term box? Intuitively, it makes sense, as that's how UTXOs are drawn, but IOG doesn't use it. Does it originate from your time at NXT or elsewhere?
Oh no! Actually, it operates around 2015, right? So, 2016, 15 probably. So, maybe even before IOG actually. IOG is not using it indeed. So box operators some term which is generalizing UTXO. Basically also it's to be considered as an element of state. So it was kind of state first thinking, right? So, for example, there are some boxes in the initial state of the Ergo blockchain. So before the Genesis block, there are 3 boxes, right? Without any transactions created them. Right. So it's just state with 3 boxes, and then transactions starting to do something with them, starting with Genesis block. It's mostly about that, mostly about a bit different angle. So to consider state first, and then how it's modified via transactions.
Very interesting. Very interesting. All right. Let's go to another question here. Let's see. Okay. So this is, I guess this is a question that we get from time to time. It never hurts to kind of answer it once in a while. So how do you differentiate Ergo from other blockchains? There's so much competition these days, and that keeps growing. So how about you go take this one, Joe?
Sure. The thing I like the most about Ergo is conservative assumptions, right? If you look at like the amount of new blockchains, there's a lot of different EVM, let's say rebuilds with little tweaks on top for different purposes. Ergo is kind of built from scratch, meant to be an extension of Bitcoin, to where you have relatively conservative block time, conservative assumptions you can make in terms of the smart contract model. And in the net, I think that's good for building financial experiments on top of that, where you have a solid foundation. I know that there's always a tendency to chase the new and the sexy, and hopefully that works out for people. Let's see. But I really do believe that having conservative foundations is a better place to start.
And what about yourself, Alex? Yeah, so I think, philosophically, Ergo, maybe is the perfect case for understanding, agreements, right? Because, the cryptocurrency is about different agreements. So in the first place, you're interacting with blockchain if you are just holding your Ergs, right? And then, it's quite clear what security assumptions there because of proof of work, conservative choices and so on. So, there is know your assumptions, right? Like thinking here. So there is a more or less clear answer, right? So if Bitcoin, it's more kind of religious, maybe assertion that we do trust math, right? Not trusted parties. Then, here, in Ergo, it's clearly shown, right? So, what is the math exactly? Because, if you're talking that you are trusting math, then it's needed to be sure. Well, what math and how do you trust it? Then there are interactions with other parties, right? Via contracts, and it's also much more clear, especially in case of peer-to-peer finance, such as SigmaFi and so on, right? So, maybe it's just me, though, right? Because I can read contracts, understand them, but so if somebody is offering me bonds, right, that's just me and the other party, and the contract, which is clearly understandable, and then maybe some chain logic, but it's a very minimal surface, right? The same for auction house, for example, right? Because in case of for example based NFT marketplaces, right? Someone is telling you that you can have decentralized ownership for NFTs, right? But then you realize it's somewhat a huge contract which having governance, so maybe not so decentralized as some parties may collude and then do something. Then there may be some admin key or keys. So there was pseudo decentralized exchange on Solana, for example, which had huge ICO, but then the only one update key was lost on FTX servers and so on. So here at least for me, things are quite clear. So what you are exactly doing and what are possible implications in regards with security, privacy, and so on.
Yeah, very interesting. Okay, let's take a question. Actually, here's a good question from X. Do other chains where Rosen is planned have catalyst equivalents that could support further incentives? Right. So, first of all, before we go to other chains, we want to succeed on Cardano and between Cardano and Ergo. So our first, I guess, task will be to be able to implement on Cardano, between Cardano and Ergo, learn our lessons as to how this incentive structure works, as to how onboarding works, and just kind of the actual field, the environment, right? How it actually looks like of when these incentives happen. After that, we will be able to go to other chains. Now, do other chains have a catalyst equivalent? So, I mean, for the most part, other chains do have grants, but these grants come from the foundation. You get Algorand Foundation giving out grants, Polygon Labs giving out grants. I mean, the reason why they're giving out grants is not because they're so generous, but because that's a way to circumvent regulatory problems. Well, not circumvent, but to kind of mitigate, de-risk regulatory problems. There are other chains that do grants. After we succeed on Cardano, we'll figure out who is next, who's a good, viable next candidate, and we'll go to there and we'll see how grants work on that chain, and we'll try to get them and spread out to more and more chains. Joe, I mean, do you have any more information on how, if there's any, say, like other L1s with treasuries out there that are actually like the Catalyst treasury?
Catalyst is pretty unique. Obviously everything has its pros and cons, but I do think that's one unique part of Cardano anyway. But yeah, it makes a lot of sense to leverage local operators as much as possible and decentralize kind of the Rosen framework. So I think that, building it on top of stake pools and parts certainly is a good option, as well as, miners and projects in the Ergo ecosystem. Because when it comes to, that type of thing, more participants, more resilient network, better it operates, all that good stuff. So I think that there's a great partnership opportunity there that could potentially pass on some revenues to participants as well. So win-win.
Yeah. What do you think, Alex? Alex?
Yeah, so my knowledge is pretty much the same. So side of Catalyst, so we need to reach foundations or labs, kinds of organizations, and ask for grants. Not we, but the Rosen team. I mean. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's worth it, but it's better to have some working bridge for Cardano, probably. At least that's I would advise to the Rosen team.
Yeah. That's why we're focusing on Cardano right now with the Rosen team, is because it's just, I think it's it's a very synergistic kind of relationship. We'll have a lot of cooperation in the Cardano community, and we'll have the best chance to robustly implement Rosen. Yeah. So, okay. Okay, so here's another question. So I think we can answer one more question about the regulatory stuff. So, do you think the SEC's recent SEC securities clampdown on proof of stake cryptos could lead to a rise in proof of work chains like Ergo, or does it not matter as they targeted Dash? Number one, I don't think it's going to make that big of a difference. They're going to just clamp down on anybody they want to, proof of work, proof of stake, proof whatever. And this is actually, it's kind of funny that you got some Bitcoin maxis out there thinking that they're immune to this SEC witch hunt, and they're not. It's literally these are not criminal suits, right? So they could make up as many suits as they want, and they could allege they're alleging that you did this, right? They allege. You still have to go to court. You still have to pay legal fees. You still have to, I guess, take the reputational hit, because regardless of what happens, people always remember that you had to go to court about being labeled as security, and it's just security is a scary word in the crypto space. So I don't think POW is immune. POS is the easier target for them. That's why they're going after POS mainly. I just think they're going to do whatever they want until again we have a administration change and we have people in there that are more crypto friendly, sensible regulation and regulatory clarity focused, and willing to work with the industry. What do you think, Joe?
That's kind of been a long and ongoing story in the crypto space. Is like we have this anti-establishment system, and how do we, get the proper definition? And maybe we should, define Bitcoin as gold, and we should define Ethereum as fuel, and so they're commodity-like instruments, which it's hard to say. I mean, Ergo is kind of unique in that it's proof of work, so maybe it kind of fits the gold idea, but it also is programmable. So, and Ergo is required to transact, so maybe it kind of fits the fuel idea. But then we have storage rent, so that's like, I don't know, real estate in Saudi Arabia where you have a 99-year lease on something, but it's ultimately returned to the miners. So how does it fit in terms of like traditional commodities? That's kind of been, I guess, an ongoing word salad thing for a while. In the end, I think that ultimately the SEC is not going to be friendly because it's against their interest, right? They're an organization that's based to represent the kind of value and investment potential of the dollar. And so cryptocurrency is a direct competitor, to that establishment. It's an interesting question, really. Like you have this idea of like, I don't know, commodities, and commodities themselves only have value because of human knowledge in terms of using them, right? And so having like research and development around commodities doesn't necessarily predefine a commodity as a security. It just allows you to maximize like the efficiency and the use of that commodity. So it's a fascinating debate. Leave it to the people in suits. Let's just build anyway. And at the end of the day, crypto was not created to like get permission, right? If these initial people that created Bitcoin were to say, hey, we need permission from government before we proceed, we never would have gone anywhere. So I think the best thing to do is continue research and development, build things as public goods to where they're open, they're transparent, and through that, ultimately become decentralized and unstoppable.
Yeah, what are your thoughts, Alex?
Yeah, so first of all, on Dash. So Dash is not just proof of work, so it has master nodes. And so I guess it was labeled as security because of master nodes offering, probably. Right, so in this regard, this component of the consensus is similar to staking economically, right? So you buy a master node license, or how's it called? Yeah, I don't know, in the Dash community, and then so you are profiting, right, from it. And you need for Dash. So probably because of that, it was considered security. Well, in general, during the first Asian tour, Ergo was presented as kind of digital gold, but also usable. So back then, I was, fond of considering, and still, so I'm actually thinking to return to old. This old line of presenting Ergo as kind of usable, programmable digital gold, right? So digital gold, where you can also build contracts, right, on top of the gold. So you can use it as a trustless collateral then, right, and build other financial tools such as stable coins, for example, right? And then using them in turn as collateral in lending protocols and so on, right? So you're gonna have for financial industry around this gold in the network itself, right? So not externalized, as in case of Bitcoin, where you have centralized lending platforms, for example, like BlockFi, BlockFi failed actually, right, last year, and so on. That's my perception. So I don't really know how does it correspond with the use of some three letters agencies, let's say.
Yeah. Well, like I said, those three-letter agencies have a master that usually is reelected or removed every 4 years. So hopefully the next one is going to appoint some people in that three-letter agency that are actually going to make sense out of this and not try to go and regulate, not as in the government sense, but as in the Nate Dogg and Warren G sense. Anyway, guys, I think it's a good place for us to leave it off for this week. Thanks a lot, everybody, for your questions. And of course, we'll be here at the same time, same channel next week. Please feel free to reach out to any one of us over whatever means you use, social media, email, whatever else. And we will see you here next week. Thanks a lot, everybody. Thanks for the questions.
Have a good one.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good day. Bye.